Hello, friends, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Film Directing with Matt Macedo. The song you just heard was from Drug of Choice, one of my old films back from 2015. And the song was created, well, the entire soundtrack was actually created by Jamie Murgatroyd. He has been my go-to composer for the past 8+ years. We befriended each other on Facebook, and we've, worked together ever since at least 2012. And he lives all the way in Australia, and so we haven't even met yet. And today was even the first time that we've spoken to each other over the phone. Usually it's just, voice messages over Facebook or texting over Facebook. Um, but yeah, we talk about how the time difference for him living in Australia and me in LA is kind of beneficial, and how, we recorded this podcast 7 a.m. my time, 10 p.m. his time. And we talk about how kind of, the collaboration works between us, and he gives his advice to fellow composers on, the collaborative relationship between director and composer. So thanks for tuning in. Please leave a like, rate the podcast, share it with your friends and family, your grandma, your sister, everybody, please. And share it with your therapist. Tell them what the hell you're listening to. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, just thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you.
Hi,
Hello.
Jamie.
How you doing, man?
Good. Welcome to the podcast.
It's actually good to hear your voice directly, as opposed to just the recordings that I usually hear on your videos.
Oh, that's true. I know. It's finally good to actually speak to you too. We've spoken, right, before?
No, we haven't. Only on
Really?
Facebook. Yeah, no, only on Facebook messages and like emails. That we haven't actually spoken directly like this before. So it's a new
Wow.
experience.
That is insane. And I know we've how long have we been working together? Like 8-9 years almost?
Well, look, it's amazing. There's that many people who I work with and have been working with for years and years, and I still have not spoken to them directly. It's email, it's Facebook recordings, Facebook messages, things like that. So yeah, it's actually because when you work in an isolated situation where you don't live in the same town as most of the directors, it's basically the way it goes, and you very rarely get to speak directly to directors or producers or anyone. It's quite a lonely experience at times.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, the geographical differences that we're in. It's 7 a.m. where I'm at right now, and it's 10 p.m. where you're at. I'm about to begin my Wednesday, and your Wednesday is about to end. And so
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, like you think about the world's a ball, and you think when it's 10 a.m. one side, it should be 10 p.m. on the other, but no, we're 15 hours apart. It's like, wow, it's just insane. But
yeah.
To
some it's a ball. To some it's a flat disc. But anyway,
well, let's not go there, shall we?
Yeah, definitely not the podcast for that. But
No.
but yeah, so even just the time differences have really worked well for us. Whenever I kind of have needed like a really quick turnaround on a project, you're kind of you're on it and working on it while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, that sort of there's an advantage of that too, because I can do something, send it off to you, said, "What? There you go, digest that." And while you're looking at it, thinking about whatever, I'm sleeping. And then when I get the morning, there's a message there saying this, that, the other, whatever it might be. So there's advantage to having that downtime when you're working, and vice versa. And then when you're sleeping, I'm working away at whatever it is I need to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it works. It works as far as that's concerned.
So how long have you been a composer?
Okay, a composer. I'd probably say since I first started, which is in composing, would have been about 2009. So I've been writing my own stuff, just sort of rock music, rocky pop sort of stuff. Very poor quality, not very good stuff at all. It was just a hobby. And I did a song with a friend of mine who I worked with, and he was doing the same as me. He said he was just using a bass and a guitar, and it was a bit more just acoustically sort of feel. And there was a track he did. The guy's name was Asher Gregg, and he did a song called "When I Survey the Wanderer's Cross," and it was just an outstanding track. It was just guitar and bass. So I got him around to record that. We recorded. I added all these instruments to it, which is like bongo drums, kick drum, didgeridoo, some strings. And it turned into this really epic sort of Australiana type of track. And then they're going to shoot a movie in Jordan based on some history that happened here, like way back before there was even white colonization of Australia. It was back in 1629. And they're going to film a movie about that event here. And I sent off the track saying it might be good for the end credits type thing. You know, wasn't expecting too much. The guy rang me up and said, "Love the track, brilliant. Would you like to write the score?" And it's like, okay. I hadn't even thought about doing film music at that stage.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, the project collapsed, and that's another story altogether. But I was writing music for the film based on the script, and it seemed to appear that even though the film collapsed, I thought there's no reason why I can't keep on pursuing this because I've got a bit of a knack for it. And then I started to just shop around and see what I could find. And the first guy that put his hand up and said, "Yeah, I'll work with you," was a guy called Nathan Hill, who lives in Melbourne. He's a director, actor, producer. He's got his finger in many pies as far as concerned, but he does a lot of his own films, and I've been working with him ever since. And he's a great bloke, great guy to work with. So yeah, that was the start of it, and since then it's been rolling along in its own pace, gathering momentum until COVID hit, and then everything's come to a screeching halt because obviously no one's doing anything at the moment.
Yeah.
But things are starting to get going again here because in Western Australia, that's where I live. COVID's been pretty much stopped. We've got like 5 or 6 cases throughout the whole state, no new ones because we're on basically hard water lockdown, so no one can come in. Wow. And so we've got it pretty much under control here. There's like no new cases, so it's going really well.
Well, good for you guys.
Yeah, it is for us, but unfortunately, you look around the rest of the world, it's like, God, just lock your states down, lock your towns down, do the hard yards for 3-4 months, and you'll be over this thing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's one of those things. But so until everything starts to get going again, I'm sort of hurting as far as no films. But that's the same with everybody in the industry.
Yeah.
How it goes.
And you were on a rampage, honestly. I mean, you have over 95 credits on IMDb, and I mean, you went from like having 5 a year to now like having 10 plus a year coming out.
Yeah.
For projects.
Yeah. No. Well, there's a lot of short films in there. They're a quick turnaround. You get something to do, and it can depend on the director you're working with too. Like some are very easygoing. It's like, yep, no worries, that will do. Others are so nitpicky. Which is fine because at the end of the day you're working for them, so if they want to be nitpicky, let them be nitpicky.
Sure.
But it can take you a lot longer to do a project where every little note has to be absolutely perfect and that type of thing. But at the end of the day, that is what it is. But if you're doing a lot of short films, they're a quicker turnaround. And the features obviously take longer. And the other thing too is and as I'm getting more into this and I'm developing my skills. I used to do a feature in 2 weeks, and now I'll take at least 4 because I want to critique my own work heavily.
Sure.
And because the last thing you want to do is get the reputation that you cut corners or things like that. So you become a bit more professional as you get on. And let's face it, I'm coming into this whole aspect. When I came into it, I had no formal training. I've never been taught how to play anything except for 3 years learning to play guitar in primary school. I've taught myself how to do everything that I can do. So a lot of time it's like, let's just see what happens. Look, that didn't work, so you try it again. But it's something that you develop within yourself as you keep on progressing along.
Sure. And I mean, I was going to ask you, like, what kind of things have you learned during this whole process, and kind of how you're able to even apply those to life? It
actually is a fair point too with that, because it's the biggest thing for me. Is the quality. It's not just what I'm doing, but how I'm making it sound. So you can offer a piece of music, then you can same piece of music and actually put the production, the mastering and everything onto it, and it sounds so much better. So those techniques are something that I'm sort of learning to do. And then when you sort of apply that to life, I've just taken over a manager of a liquor store, and you look at that and it's the same thing. You can have, like, for example, a shelf of wines, but how does it work if you just present it a bit differently? So, there are different lessons in life that you can bring in from your music into that, and vice versa as well. But the biggest thing, it's being able to. The hardest thing it's sort of the hardest thing. It's the most important thing. Is also the easiest thing for me, which is to get inside the head of the director. What's he thinking? What reaction does he want from the audience? And if you can nail that, you pretty much got down pat, provided you can back it up.
Mm-hmm. What's one of your favorite projects that you've actually have done?
Favorite?
I
I'd
know that's
have
a hard question.
Well, it is because favorite can go so many different levels. I mean, I say probably Project Eden Volume 1 would be one of the favorites up there because of the fact that it was the first $1 million project that I worked on. And I know that in movie world, $1 million isn't a big budget, but it was the biggest one. Well, still is at this stage the biggest one I've worked on. And it took a lot of uh, just really nitpicking the little things in it, and also got to work with some, as far as an actor's concerned, someone who's in the film, Eric Avari, who is someone I've admired his acting for years and years, well before I was even contemplating doing this type of thing. Next thing I'm actually on his level where I'm writing music for a film he's in. It's like quite surreal when you think about it in that respect. So that was one of my favorites in that respect. Just recently I did a pilot, sort of a proof of concept for a little thing. It's like a supernatural concept where this guy basically can astro travel in his dreams, and he goes in a trance state, and he can go and find missing people who are being kidnapped and whatnot. Yeah, it's sort of that crime type thing. But there's also some sort of demon attached to it as well. And that was really good because it allowed me to really dive into the darker side of things. And there's a couple other projects which I've done. There's one called Saving Grace, which I did the music for, and I loved how that turned out. But it still hasn't been given the all clear, and that was like a year ago. So I'm still waiting to hear what happened to that. And there's another one called Survive or Die, which is someone I've worked with a number of years as well. And I took out a prize at Cannes for the best best score for the Mediterranean over in Cannes, and that was where they picked from all categories. So I was quite pleased with that because, obviously Cannes is right up there as far as the film festival is concerned. So that was a massive feather in my cap. So yeah, there's a few that you can sort of point to, but they all bring their positives and negatives and all that type of thing. But end of the day, it's kind of hard to narrow it down to just one or two. There's quite a few that I've really enjoyed working on.
No, it's true. Even looking at the soundtracks that you've made for me, Drug of Choice is still my favorite one.
Oh, look, see, that's it. I completely forgot. I'm talking to the man who directed that, and I didn't even give that a thought. That, to me, that soundtrack, I really enjoyed, especially with the opening sequence where you had all that thing. And I just sort of wanted something that went with it powerful, but not too abstract, and that turned out great. And the rest of the soundtrack actually went along the same lines. I mean, I've even got a link on my website to that soundtrack it's up there on I can't remember what it says.
Is it SoundCloud?
The SoundCloud, that's it, yeah. I've got a link on, if you've got a website, you got the link on the to that, and it goes through and it'll play that soundtrack. And I still go to that now and listen to it because it was just a good honest soundtrack that suited the music exceptionally well. The only thing I find though is that when you go back and listen to your own work, you'll hear something that which no one else does, but being the composer with the ears that I've got, I'm like, oh no, I've made a mistake. I could have done this a little bit better or something. So there's always that risk. But no, you're right. Sure. I mean, yeah, that was a good film with a good message, and it was actually a lot of fun to work on. I like doing that one.
It was, yeah. I'm really excited. I'm going to be able to release Drug of Choice, Homegrown, Without Regret, and Our Oceans on Amazon Prime soon.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just going to be US and UK for right now, but
we'll see. It's all a progress, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I can have a movie and then like 3 years later it goes, it's been released on Prime. I thought, geez, I forgot I even did that. It's way back when, but no, it's at least it'll get out there. That's the main thing.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So I remember a long time ago, I was talking to you about my kind of admiration for the film Avatar. And then you told me you met Sam Worthington once at a bar, right?
No.
Oh, no?
No, that wasn't me.
Oh, shoot. I could have sworn you told me that you met him once. Interesting.
No.
Oh, so weird.
Next question. Awkward. Yeah, but no, it wasn't me. I've never met Sam. He's from Rockingham, which is like down south. Like, so you got 450 k's, you hit Perth, and then that's another, I think, a couple hundred k's down. That's where he's originally from. As far as I'm aware, I think that's where he's originally from. But no, I've never met him at all. don't know the
Oh,
guy.
interesting. Interesting. One other thing that I remember, how kind of just small this world is. I know my brother watched Wolf Creek and Wolf Creek 2, and I
Oh,
told
yep.
you about it, and then you had a connection with him.
Well, I actually did Greg McLean is actually from my hometown. And so he pops into town every once a year type of thing. And if he's got time, we'll catch up and have a coffee. And I did the music for the making of Wolf Creek 2. So, in the Blu-ray, when you got the behind the scenes, all the extras, for the making of Wolf Creek 2, I did the opening and end credits for that. I said, Cam called me up and said, do you want to do the music for it? Yeah, sure. So he said, we want something a bit more country. And he sort of gave me what he was looking for. It's like, yeah, nah, that's wrong. So I did something that's a bit more rocked up, and they loved it. So I did that. Plus, also did the first trailer for Jungle, which is one that Greg directed a couple of years back. Had Daniel Radcliffe in it. He just rang me up and said, "Do you like to whack doing the first trailer, like to put some music to it?" Yeah, sure. There you go. And I've done some little things with him as well, like a little bit of music here and there, whatever. But Greg's an outstanding guy. Just to talk to him, you wouldn't know he's the bigger director than what he does. He's a very down to earth sort of guy, lovely man. And he's got like all the big success with Wolf Creek. Got the Wolf Creek series, Wolf Creek 2, Wolf Creek 3 is going to be starting at some point in the future. That was one I'd really like to be involved with, but you just can't say, oh, well, yeah, I know you, therefore you've got to put me on your film. It doesn't work that way. So I'll talk to him about it later on, and maybe I'll get onto it, maybe I won't. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Not sure.
But he's a good bloke though. Well, Greg.
It's good. What about any hobbies outside of music and work?
Oh, geez. I used to be right into sport a whole lot, but there's a thing called age, and it seems to have caught up with me a bit. Because I'm in the mid-40s now, and it's I don't run like I used to. The hamstring is go all the time. I definitely don't bounce like I used to bounce. So I don't really do sport, but I do like watching footy, which is Australian rules. That's my main choice. I do actually like the NFL. I've gotten that in the last couple of years. I've sort of sat down and figured out the rules and that. But the problem is most of the games are being played at 2:00 in the morning, and I'm asleep. But I'll watch a few games when I can. But I love watching the AFL, which is our Aussie rules. Cricket, I used to love playing that. Hockey, so I like sort of that aspect of it. I ride a motorbike, so I like to get out and and stretch my legs. Yeah, I've got a ZZ 600, and it's about 17 years old. Jesus, 17 years old now, and but it still goes like the clappers. So I take that out, and where I am in Gelton, it's like a population of like 35,000 people. But once you get in the edge of town, there's like nothing. It's an isolated town.
Oh, wow.
You have like 60 k's north, you hit a town, 60 k's south, you hit a town, but then there's nothing else really. If you go inland, 110 k's, you hit another town. So you can just get out and stretch your legs, pin your ears back a little bit, without being stupid, of course.
Yeah.
But, that's a good way to get out in that. Of course, I love watching movies. I mean, it's, being in the industry, I'm a movie buff.
Ooh, what kind of movies are your favorite?
Look, horror, hands down.
Of course.
definitely love the horrors. But I must admit, the horrors which are sort of not these slice and dice, because that to me is just like a bit of a cheat way to try to get the jump scares type of thing. Mm-hmm. The horrors that really make you think, or that get you on an intellectual level, a mental level. Mm-hmm. They're the ones I like. So horrors are great. Science fiction is a great one as well. Got a bit of fascination for submarine movies too. I don't know why, because I really don't like being in the water. Well, I live right on the coastline, so I love being near the water, but not a big fan of being in the water. But I love submarine movies.
Interesting.
Yeah. Comedies are okay, but definitely horror is the standout genre.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially like we were saying, the dread, that kind of heavy emotion. So when it comes to the relationship between a director and composer, what do you think is like the most important aspect of that relationship?
The most important aspect. Oh, actually, I don't think about it. That's a very interesting question.
Probably communication.
I would say the most important is the mental connection, because and also I will say this, because I've talked to a lot of composers who have worked with I've talked to a lot of directors who have worked with a lot of composers, and the one thing they can't stand is when the composer turns around and says, "I'm the composer. I know what you need. This is what you're going to get," type thing. That is the wrong attitude. You got to realize that you're working for them, so they are the boss. But what you need to be able to do is have that connection between the two of you. So if I'm working with you and I've been given the footage, and typically they give you the footage and they say, "Okay, what do you reckon?" And with each scene, I'm thinking, okay, what music I'll put in there? But I'm thinking beyond that. I'm thinking, okay, like I said before, what reaction is the director trying to get from the audience? Because that's what it's all about. It's about getting the correct reaction from the audience. So if you want the audience to get scared, then you obviously put some scary music in there. If you want them to think one thing, you put some music in, they'll dictate them to think something else. If you don't want them to know what's going on, then silence is an excellent tool for a composer. You just leave music out, and that's something that a lot of composers don't really think of. Which is not to put any sort of bad word on any other composers, because we all got different styles in that. But silence is a very powerful tool, and if used correctly, it's a standing tool.
I think that's a great point. A great composer knows when and when not to use music.
I think now, oh, geez, who was it? A friend of mine, can't remember who it was. Someone was telling me, and we're talking about music, and he said, I believe he said it was Miles Davis. I've never seen this quite personally myself, but I think he said it was Miles Davis said that a musician, a brilliant musician, knows what notes to play and what notes not to play, and it's the same with film. You've got to look at it and think, all right, what am I trying to do here? Is music going to benefit this particular scene or this particular moment, or will silence actually do better? Because one thing, when you put silence in a film, the audience has to start to think, okay, what's going on? They're not being told what to think by the music. So that's where you got to think. If you look at like a movie like No Country for Old Men, right?
No music at all, huh?
There's not one note, and it works wonderfully well, because what it does, the tone of the scenes are set up by the characters, and you've got some powerful characters in that film. And for a composer to turn around and say, "I love the film because there was no music in it," is like weird. But yeah, it was better because there was no music in it. It was just amazingly well done. So yeah, silence is a big factor. So, but yeah, back to the question though, it's you need to be able to get in the head of into the head of the director and say, okay, what is he trying to do with this scene? What reactions is he trying to extract from the audience? And that's when you need to be on that wavelength. And it's not always going to happen. There's some projects I've walked away from because they're on a completely different wavelength to me. I just can't get in the head. Like there was a project, for example, where I was asked to do it. Yep, no worries. I can't remember what it's called. It's a short film. And they said, okay, we want the music like this particular film. And it was a film, It Follows, which was a horror film from a few years back. And I personally liked the film, hated the music, because every time the music played, it took me away from the fact I was watching a film, because it was just completely wrong from what I saw.
Distracting?
Yeah, it was not supposed to be distracting. It's more like as soon as you heard the music, you're thinking you're not involved with the music in the film. The music is completely opposite to what should be played in the film. So it just was, what the hell is going on here, type thing. And when he said he wanted music like that, I said, well, I personally felt that music was completely wrong for the film. So I said, maybe you look at another composer, because I don't think I'm going to be able to do what you want to do. And you've got to be able to admit that if you're on a project and it's not going to work because you're not in that mindset, you've got to be able to walk away, because at the end of the day, you could be a detriment to not only that project, but to maybe future projects down the track. If someone else is talking to that director and he says, "Oh, no, don't use him, he didn't listen, or he doesn't understand." So yeah, being able to get in the mindset of the director is probably the most important thing, and have that communication.
And then what kind of advice would you give to both directors and even other composers as well?
To directors, kind of hard, because when you're a director, you're directing, it's your baby, right? And you got to oversee everything. So it's a little bit different to being just in charge of one little department. But with directors though,
like from a composer's standpoint, what would you wish that a director kind of knew to how to how to communicate to you guys, or kind of what to
Probably,
say.
I think the best thing, the biggest thing I can say is don't be 100% locked into an idea, because
Mm,
I've had a number of composers, a number of directors who come across, and they'll say, "This is what we want," and you look at it and think that is completely wrong, and it's just instinctual. It's just the wrong thing to do.
mm-hmm.
So when you say, "Look," and my idea is like, "Okay, you've got your ideas. Here's my ideas. Let's talk about it," and then you make a decision. But those who get so locked in and say, "No, that's not what I want. This," and they're so focused and so single-minded, they've got blinkers on. If they can't understand that a new set of eyes brings new ideas and possibly better ideas, well, then you're not going to get the best from the project. Because let's face it, when you get a director, they're on that project from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas someone else coming in late has got fresh eyes, and they're not so blinded by the fact that they've been living this thing for the past X months or years or whatever it is been. And so they can offer up new ideas, new thoughts, new ways of attacking things. So from a director's point of view, just be a bit more open to other ideas if you're prone to be locked into a specific idea. And for composers, from all the feedback I've had from directors, recognize the fact that you are actually working for the director. The director is the client. So you don't dictate what it is that you want. They will tell you what type of music they want, and you can have a discussion with them, but they have the final say. Because I know a lot of directors who won't work with some composers because they're so pig-headed they wouldn't listen and they wouldn't do what was asked of them. So that's probably the biggest two things I'd say.
Yeah, well, all really good advice.
Where's it work?
Well, I know it's getting late over there for you, and so I don't want to keep you.
It's only up past 10. I'm usually up until about midnight anyway. So
Really,
we can still chat if you like.
How is just regular life over there for you right now? And so you're not working as much on music, so are you working a lot at the liquor store?
Yeah, well, I got the job at the liquor store at the beginning of January, and I took over as manager, and then COVID hit, and we went on restrictions from travel restrictions. The liquor store I'm attached to, there's a pub upstairs that was closed down, so it really hit us hard. But the liquor store has done really, really well, and we're doing a lot more business than we did last year and the year before. So things are motoring along quite well as far as that's concerned. Putting a few hours in there, obviously. But the music side of things, the only things that I've done recently, I did a competition for Westworld.
Oh, that's right.
Fifth Island. Yeah, there was big controversy about that because the winning entry really sounded like they were trying to make fun of the project. It just didn't seem to go at all. And apparently he has worked with a couple of the judges. So there was a bit of a hoorah. Yeah, there was, a lot of people were very upset by it. And I was one of them. Not because I didn't win. I mean, looking at some of the other entries, I thought, no, mine wasn't as good. But, it was just something I did. And at the moment, I'm doing a little bit of there's a friend of mine in Italy who's a composer called Stefano Marcelli, I think his name is. Good bloke, excellent bloke. He's got, his wife is a lady called Clara, Chlorosaurus, and she's got one of the best voices you've ever heard. I mean, I'll put her up there as far as the caliber of Lisa Gerrard. She is that good. And they've done some stuff with her as far as recording VST instruments. So her voice is on software, and you can use it in your tracks. And I've got a track on my website which is called Eve. And her voice is on it, and it's just the most powerful thing. Her voice is devastatingly good. So anyway, he gave me a copy of his last software package that he made with his wife, and I've just been putting together a track for him to help sort of boost that a little bit, although it's about 4 weeks overdue because I said, I have it in the next couple of days, and I haven't been able to get back to it, been so busy with everything else. So I've been doing that, just trying to keep busy and trying to keep the legs pumping as far as music's concerned. And I was talking to another director in Sydney the other day, actually, and he's got something. He's going to get started pretty soon. So it's like, okay, great. Well, there's something else going on. But overall, the projects, I said, ever since it hit, everyone's just stopped. It's just come to a grinding halt. And I mean, like, know yourself over in America there. Is there anything happening there? Though I reckon that'd be all completely
Uh,
dead.
I mean, I think it's slowly coming back, with a lot of testing, and there's a lot of kind of, you got to take a, quarantine period before you're able to go on set. And yeah, it's
How
kind
long
of
is that for? Is that 2 weeks?
I think my good friend Adrian, he only had to wait, I think, like a week or a few days before going, because he drove all the way across a few states and then had to wait in a hotel before officially going on set.
Oh, okay, yeah, because we got like a 2 week isolation period, a quarantine period here for you. So if you come into the state, you've got to be self isolated in a hotel for 2 weeks. And if you
Smart.
don't, well, someone just got jailed the other day for breaking quarantine,
Oh wow.
and they chucked her in jail for 6 months. So, well, yeah, fair enough. At the end of the
Wow.
day, you're going to break. Well, I mean, this is a big public health thing we got going on.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
it's crazy. Well, see,
oh, look,
it's just so strange over there. They'll put you in jail, but here they're letting people out of jail as well. So
yeah,
there's no kind of.
it's
It's kind of
amazing.
interesting. Yeah.
Look, I look at it. I mean, not to get too much off topic, but I look at it. I think we know that it's got like a X amount of like 4.5% mortality rate, but it travels so quickly. We need to clamp on it. And I was very much at the beginning when it first broke out. I was like, no, there's nothing to worry about. Then after I was like, yeah, actually, no, there is something to worry about. But people are so like they get caught up with this thing, wearing a mask. No, it's against the Constitution and whatever it is. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're happy to wear a seatbelt, wear safety boots, eye goggles, hard hats, all these other safety things that we get people to wear. There's no problem with it. But for some reason, wearing a mask, people are going, oh, no, you can't make me do that. I got my rights. It's like, really? Seriously, just wear a mask. Be safe. Let's get over this thing and then move on. But
No, it's true.
Yeah, but as far as the movie industry goes, it's I mean, I had a lot of movies lined up to do, which were going to be fairly big. Talking about paying my house off and everything would have been great. But then this hit. But at the same time, though, you can't complain too much compared to how some people have been devastated by it and all the events across the world in the last year. So, always remain optimistic if you can.
No, that's true. And at least you got yourself an essential job right before it all happened.
It's actually funny. They talked about that alcohol. Is alcohol essential? And as the cops have said, well, I reckon we'd have more trouble if we didn't have liquor stores open. So yes, we are part of the essential employees, as they say.
Absolutely.
But it's look, it's been a challenge in itself. But I would dearly just love to go back to writing music again and getting into some more projects and just focusing on that. But
I do hope that this period that we're kind of going through, I kind of feel like it's going to create a new wave of filmmakers, and to some degree, like it's going to kind of shift or add more of a dread tone to films. We'll see.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like you've obviously got your post-apocalyptic films will start coming out and whether it's post-war or post-disease, post-disease ones obviously, and some will be directly tied in with COVID as well. But I think we have been witnessing an evolution in filmmaking for a number of years. I mean, a few years back, I think, what was it, that film? Was it Colin? I think it was a zombie film called Colin. And he filmed it on his iPhone. And it was like world-breaking because it was the first one to film an entire film on his iPhone. And he did it like, I think it was a found footage or something like that, first-person footage, zombie attack. I haven't seen the film, but he made it for like $97. But
Wow.
It was just insanely incredibly cheap, but it's on his phone. Now we are seeing iPhones being used more, or at least cell phones being used more and more often in the world of filmmaking because the technology is getting better and better. And as you open up technology and it gets better and better, it allows many more people to step into the role of director or producer or even with me, composer, because if it wasn't for technology, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. The whole process of filmmaking is evolving at an amazing pace because it's when you adapt a technology like a phone, just as an example, and you adapt it to one particular application, then all these other ideas start coming out as to how you can use it. This is where the apps come in and things like that. So the whole aspect of filmmaking and whatever level you're talking about, it's technology is really driving this aspect of the evolution of filmmaking and filmmakers. And the only thing that's holding us back is creativity.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, because you could. I mean, everybody says it. Back in the day, filming anything was super difficult, and now everybody has a camera in their pockets. There's no excuses.
Yeah, exactly right. The only thing I think is going to kill big Hollywood production type movies is that lack of willingness to back an idea. Because one thing that at first I was quite behind the idea, which is the remakes, reboots. Okay, they're redoing this movie which was made 30 years ago, and I think, that's all right, because you're bringing that film to the new generations. But then as someone pointed out, it said, these people, especially back then, they put their heart and soul into making their movie, and then it's just going to be trampled on. And it's like when they remade Ghostbusters, just an example. Now, I'm not getting into the whole sexist thing about whether women one should be the roles or men. Just the movie itself. Ghostbusters, you can watch Ghostbusters now, as in the original 1980, whatever it was. You can watch that now, and it still holds up as a good film, a really well-made film. It's not like, I'm watching something from the 1980s, so you can tell. It just looks like a good film. It's really well made. So there was no real reason to remake that. You could have made a Ghostbusters 3 with no problem at all. You didn't have to have those three characters in there. You could have had all women in there who were like the daughters of the Ghostbusters, have them in there. Ghostbusters 3, they can't get the originals because, let's face it, one's dead, one could be in jail, one could be a high-fly, and one's doing science research or something. But rather than that, they go, no, let's play it safe. Let's do a remake. It's like one of my all-time favorite films is The Thing, like from 1982. John Carpenter's The Thing, absolutely brilliant film. One of my all-time favorites, my favorite horror film. They're talking about remaking that. I'm thinking, why? They did a remake or the prequel a number of years ago, which could have been better if they put a bit more money into it and sort of tweaked the script a bit. But it was decent. I didn't mind it. But now they're going to remake The Thing. You can still watch The Thing and thoroughly enjoy it for what it is. You don't need to remake it. Hollywood.
But imagine if they came to you and said, Jamie, what if you made the music for it?
Oh, well, that's just not playing. It's not a rant. No, but look, interesting aspect as far as that's concerned. What would I say if that was the case? Then you'd be thinking, oh, geez, because you'd be crazy not to step forward and say, okay, I don't want to do it on principle because you shouldn't be remaking it. It's bullshit. Shouldn't do it. But that being said, where do you stand between principle and actually your career? I'd probably say, yeah, I'd do it. Because at the end of the day, okay, yes, I don't like the idea of doing remakes, but I don't particularly want to shoot myself square in the foot. I mean, that's a massive opportunity. So, I know it's a little bit hypocritical as far as that's concerned, but
no, I was just joking.
No, but it is actually a fair point though, because these things I do look at is saying, if I've got a stance on something, will that be compromised with another case scenario? I don't want to be a hypocrite, but it is one of those things I don't like remakes. Or stick to them, except for probably The Thing itself is another hypocrite because that was actually a remake of the 1951's Thing from Another World. But that being said, it was completely redone and it's not even the same type of film, so it's completely different. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'd have to say, yes, okay, I'll take your money and do your work. I won't be happy about it though. It's about the best you can do.
No, absolutely. So before we go, is there anything that you'd want to plug? I know your website is murgatroydmusic.com.
That's it. Murgatroydmusic.com. I mean, anyone wants to go on there, have a look. Listen, I need to update, I must admit, because I was listening to a couple of tracks about 2 months ago, and I thought, oh, yeah, that's not the best I've ever done. So I need to go back and re-update it sort of thing. But no, there's nothing I've got to plug because, like I said, I've got no projects on at the moment. Got nothing coming up. But
I think I'll play a snippet of some of your music from some films of mine that you've done during this. Cool. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, okay, no worries. But like, there's no nothing I've got to plug. It's kind of hard because I said all I can really do is plug my own music. The only thing I say is that one of my soundtracks has been released, which was the soundtrack to Project Eden Volume 1. I know it's available on CD Baby, but and I was supposed to get the process for that, but that company is now split, and I'm not getting anything from it. But hey, if you want to go listen to Project Eden Volume 1. It is available on CD Baby. I think you can get it on YouTube anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about paying for it. Just go to
Okay.
YouTube and do it. But yeah, it
And
wasn't bad.
for any, I mean, directors, producers out there, I mean, you're available right now, so
Always
completely.
available. Always available. Look, at the end of the day, as I said, my philosophy is I work with directors to give the product that is best for the project. I don't have the ego. I don't big nut myself by saying, I'm this, I'm that, and the rest of it. I work for the same. So if anyone out there needs a composer who's got a bit of an idea of what they're doing, no, just give me a call. Send me an email.
Absolutely. I highly recommend him.
Yes, I paid you to say that, though.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those things I always love doing. But I said it's it's been since COVID hit, been a long time between drinks. But I said if there's anything out there that anyone needs something to, ask the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, Jamie, thank you again for so much for coming on.
Oh, more than welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So again, thanks for coming on. Murgatroydmusic.com, and I'll probably end this episode with playing another song from Drug of Choice or from some other film.
Yeah, some other film that you've been Drug of Choice. That was an awesome sound.
Yeah, I know. It's a great one. Okay. All right, Jamie. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.